Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Bob Power, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our next live presentation from Metallica Metals Corporation. Before I introduce our speakers, a few points to note. Please submit your questions in the question box to the left of the slides. If you're interested in scheduling a meeting with company management, please click on the Meetings tab found on the left navigation bar on the main events page. You'll be able to view the company's availability and submit a meeting request. On a final note, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Aaron Stone, Chief Executive Officer, and Paul Tenier, President and Director of Metallica Metals Corporation, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol MTALF and on the CSE under the symbol MM. Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks very much, Bob, and many thanks to everyone for joining us today, for which I believe is not only the last presentation off today, but off the entire 3-day conference. So thanks very much for sticking around and tuning in, and I hope everyone's gotten a lot out of the past 3 days. Continuing on the same metallic theme as the company who presented before us, naming convention-wise anyway, we are Metallica Metals Corp. So I hope we've got some Metallica fans out there in the audience. Our projects are also in Canada, moving from the west now to the east. We're focused in Ontario, Canada. We're an early stage junior explorer, so probably much more of an early stage investment opportunity in comparison to a lot of the other presentations you've heard over the past 3 days. So we're hoping that you can see the large upside potential that our projects pose that we see from our point of view as well. So let's jump into it. Forward-looking statement, like I'm sure you've seen from everyone else, which the full version of can be found on our website, and also a cautionary statement in regards to any adjacent properties and companies surrounding our properties, as well as any historical results on our properties. And also our QP is Paul Tenier, who is on our call, who's on the call today with me as well, like Bob mentioned, our president and director. Paul's in the background, is going to be organising any questions that you may have for us. So please put those in the box to the left, and Paul will organise those for both of us to answer at the end of the presentation. And like Bob also mentioned, if you did want to have a one-on-one meeting with myself and or Paul, we'll be available tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, and we'll make any times work. So we'll quickly go over our group. So my name is Aaron Stone, as mentioned. You can probably tell from my accent that I don't hail from North America originally from Perth, Western Australia, where most of my time back home was spent with BHP, obviously the world's largest miner in the iron ore industry, both on the exploration and mining side of the business. My degree was from Curtin University in Perth in mineral exploration and mining geology, which the third year of which was in Kalgoorlie at WASM, the West Australian School of Mining. Kalgoorlie obviously being a famous mining town that I'm sure many people have heard of. So that was a pretty cool year, living right next to the super pit, which I'm sure you've all heard of as well, one of the deepest and most famous open pit gold mines in the world. Since relocating, now live in Montreal, Quebec, so fairly close to all of our properties since relocating in 2017. Worked at the Eleanor mine with Newmont, the Bachelor mine with Bonterra Resources, as well as many other early stage exploration projects. Paul Tenier, our president and director, who I mentioned is also on the call with me today, has over 20 years of experience in the mining and exploration industry as a professional geologist as well, and has even spent a decent amount of time in my neck of the woods in Australia and New Zealand also. He was also the mining expert on the TSX and TSXV for a number of years, so really great to have someone like him on the team with a strong background in corporate governance. So you know that our press releases and reports will always be on point on the technical side of things. Kelly Malcolm, another PGO, is one of our technical advisors, professional geo out of Ontario as well. He's currently Vice President of Exploration for Amex Exploration, which you may or may not have heard of. Have got their Perron project that they're focused on in the northern Abitibi region of Quebec, very close to the border of Ontario. They made numerous high-grade gold discoveries there a few years ago and are rapidly pushing towards their first resource estimate. I think last time I've checked, they've got about 10 drill rigs on the ground, so one of the largest junior exploration programs across the whole of Canada at the moment. Peter is our CFO and has over 10 years experience running the finances for companies such as ourselves. And Sandy and Trumbull round out our board of directors and bring us a lot of investor relation and finance experience. So quickly over our share structure, I won't dwell on the finance side of things too much today. Really want to mainly focus on our projects. But of course, if you do have any questions about this, please pop them in the question box on the left. But I'll try to steer away from market conversations and metal prices and just really get stuck into our projects. So, like I mentioned, into the good stuff now. Our 3 projects of focus are all in northwestern Ontario in the Thunderbay mining district. So Thunderbay, as you can see in the kind of middle of the map there, is a town of about 100,000 people, I would say, and has seen mining activity in the area for well in excess of 100 years. So they're well adversed in the mining and exploration industry. So it's a very skilled workforce that is available to us in Thunder Bay. So starting off with our Starr Project, which is a high-grade gold and silver project. This is our flagship project for Metallica Metals and is about 120 kilometres west of Thunder Bay. Major player in the area just north of our Starr Project is Goldshore Resources with their Moss Lake Gold Project, which is a low-grade but bulk tonnage resource, which they're rapidly expanding. I think they're pushing towards getting 8 to 10 drill rigs on the project there, so a lot of activity in the area. Sammy Ridgeline and Richview Pine are our PGM/nickel/copper prospects. Sammy Ridgeline, I'll start off with, is approximately 50 kilometres north of the town of Thunder Bay and is comprised of 2 blocks, simply named the West and East blocks, and either side of Clean Air Metals Thunder Bay North Project, which holds the Escape Lake deposit. It's the main deposit of focus there, as well as a few other deposits on that same Thunder Bay North project. Clean Air have really brought a renewed focus of PGM exploration to the area. So this is exciting that we've picked up these 2 blocks directly surrounding them and hopefully begin exploration this summer. It's about another 50 to 60 kilometres to the northeast is also the producing palladium and platinum Lac des Îles mine with Impala Canada. Mining has been happening here since 1993, started as an open pit, moved to underground production in the mid-2000s. Impala acquired the operation in, I think, 2018 and have increased the life of mine through to 2027. Lastly, but not least, is Richview Pine, which you'd be able to see on the right-hand side of the map there, is our second PGM prospect. Is more closer to the town of Marathon, Ontario, about 30 kilometres west of the town, and is located directly west of Generation Mining's Marathon project, which holds the Marathon deposit, which has recently obtained approval from the Ontarian government to go into the construction phase. So delving a bit deeper into the projects now, we'll obviously start with Starr, our flagship project. Like I mentioned, a high-grade gold and silver project. I've got a large land position in the area. Like I mentioned, major players just north of us include Goldshore with their low-grade bulk tonnage Moss Lake gold deposit. As well, Kessel Run Resources are directly to the west of them with their Huronian gold project, which also holds a historically producing gold mine on the Huronian project, which I think was mined back in the 40s, 50s. I've seen a lot of black and white photos of it. Our Starr Project was originally optioned from Benton Resources back in 2020. We've got the option to own 100% here. We've only got 2 more option payments to go to acquire, to get to that 100%. And we've already well and truly covered all the expenditure requirements that fall under that agreement. We've recently completed a 4,500 meter drill program on the property. To date, I'm fairly certain this is the largest drill program that has ever been conducted on Starr, which obviously isn't a very large drill program in itself. So that just speaks to the fact that there hasn't been a huge amount of work done on this property, although there is some historical drilling on the Starr project. It's still very historically underexplored, and there's still a lot of work to be done to further the resources, the mineralization ore bodies that have been discovered to date. So from this recent drill program that we've completed, assay results from holes 1 to 15 have been released so far, with some exciting results coming out of those already, which I'll go over in a bit more detail in a couple of slides' time. And the remainder of the 15 holes that were drilled on the eastern side of the property, we're just waiting on a couple of finalizations to come out of the lab, and we should have those released to the market within the next couple of weeks. So from this program, we tested a number of known showings in the central portion of the property, as well as some new prospects on the eastern side of the property, which I'll delve into a bit further soon. So this is just a quick overlook of the geology and a very rough geophysical image of the Starr project. So the geology isn't quite as simple as this. I wish it was. This is just a very high level geological map obtained from the Ontario government. Same with the mag image on the right, also obtained from the Ontario government, with the property overlain and known showings pointed out in the little gold stars. So although this is a very high level geology and geophysical image of the area, it just goes to show that that we can obtain this information easily from the Ontario government. So it makes it a very attractive place to explore in when the government is providing this information free of charge to companies such as ourselves and trying to promote the exploration industry in the province. So this is just a quick cross-section from highlights from holes 1 to 4 that we released back in December last year. So this is looking to the northeast. This is a cross-section from the Starr showing, which you should be able to see in the overview on the bottom right-hand corner there is covered in the little star, so in the very central part of the property. So the goal of the drilling in this program was to infill historical drilling in the area, which a lot of the drilling, some was done by Benton in the 2000s, but a lot of it was done back in the 70s and 80s, so a bit less trustworthy data. So we were just, the aim of these drill holes was to not only expand known mineralization to the north and south, but to also infill historical drill intercepts. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner some of the results that came back from these first 4 holes are showing some really nice thicknesses with some good grades in them as well. So if you look on the cross-section, we've obviously got this, I've been told you can't see my mouse, so you can't see where I'm moving my mouse around, but you can kind of trace this high-grade body from surface down to hole 4, which is surrounded by this lower-grade halo. So it's nice that we've got this really high-grade ore body that's plunging down dip here, surrounded by this low-grade halo. Obviously, the next challenge for us in this particular area is to be able to expand that mineralization not only at depth, but also along strike to the north and east. So that'll be a goal for future drill programs. So this is a much better look at the geophysics of the Starr Project. This is from a mobile MT, which is a technology, new technology that is exclusive to a company called Expert Geophysics, who are also based out of Ontario, that we got to fly all three of our properties in 2021. So they collected MAG, EM, and VLF data across our three properties. With this data, then engaged a external geophysicist to do a in-depth structural analysis for us, as well as with all the data available to him, come up with geophysically based drill targets for us. So as you can see here on the Starr property, he produced 17 drill targets that he is think worthy of follow-up exploration. And like I mentioned, this is purely geophysically based, using all the data that he had, as well as any historical data that he was able to get his hands on that had already been done on the Starr property, which included up to 3 IP ground surveys, which you can kind of see lightly, the lines off lightly coloured in the background on the western, central and eastern portions of the property there. Some of the known, not all, but some of the known showings are shown in the red stars there. And as you can see, some of them are very close to the targets that the geophysicists provided to us. So we'll hopefully be able to link up some of these known showings with some of these new targets that have yet to be explored yet. So this is just a nice slide to show our grades and thicknesses in comparison to a major player in the area directly to the north of us, being Goldshore, like I said, who have a low-grade bulk tonnage resource. So we're kind of getting very similar grades and very similar thicknesses come out of the first few drill holes off our recent drill program on the Starr property. So already some extremely promising signs coming out of the current round of drilling. Moving on to our Sammy Ridgeline and after that our Ridgeview Pine projects, which are our PGM projects of interest, as well as potentially nickel and copper. So like I mentioned, Sammy Ridgeline is located 50 kilometres north of Thunderbay. We hold 100% interest in this project, one of the largest landowners in the area, directly surrounding, like I mentioned, Clean Air Metals in the middle there with their Thunderbay North project, which are pushing their Escape Lake deposit as well as surrounding deposits towards production. They continue to drill the heck out of that. So like I mentioned, they've really renewed the focus for PGM metals in this Thunderbay North district. So you can see there are some historical showings on the northern side of the east block. These are mainly zinc, copper. I think there's a few iron and uranium surface findings that have been previously found, but there really hasn't been a previous focus on PGM metals, palladium and platinum in this area. So there really is a renewed focus on PGM materials in this Thunderbay North area. So we'll be hoping to go back in later this summer and get a first ground exploration program done with a team of geologists and field assistants, with that really renewed focus on the PGM metals. So just going over the geophysics now, like I mentioned, we flew the same mobile MT airborne survey over the Sammy Ridgeline property as well, over both the western and eastern blocks, and then got our external geophysicist to do the same thing again, do a structural interp of the two blocks, as well as provide us with exploration targets to really focus and hone in on. So the geophysical team from experts that originally flew the property were already kind of pointing out to me and kind of getting a bit excited about this kind of circular feature that you can see on the eastern side of the east block, that holds a number of the geophysicist targets within them. Their initial thoughts, what they were originally telling me, is that this could be an ancient komatiitic flow. And although not a lot of my experience comes in nickel, I did work at a nickel miner during my university days, but I do know that a lot of nickel deposits back home anyway in Western Australia are related to komatiites. So hopefully we can have something of similar nature here. Not only do we have that exciting feature to follow up on with groundwork moving into the future this year, but also we have structures continuing from the Clean Air Metals property, which is obviously located right in the middle of these two blocks, that continue through our western block and onto our eastern block. So we'll be hoping to find some of the same characteristics that are associated with the mineralization found at the Thunderbay North project. So a lot of the structures that continue through, and we're hoping to find some of the similar intrusives that they find as well. There is a lot of remnant magnetism associated with that circular feature, which I'm told by our geophysicists can be a characteristic of PGE deposits. So we're very eager to get started here. Moving on to Ridgeview Pine now, our last but not least, another platinum and palladium play. We'll obviously hoping to get here in the near future, as well as obviously everyone knows palladium and platinum are needed to produce batteries. So the play for battery metals is obviously very hot in the market at the moment. So we also have 100% interest in this project. Extremely easily accessible by the Trans-Canada Highway 17, the Ontario Highway 17 that runs through the southern half of the project here. So accessible all year round. What's important about this project is that the western block in particular is situated along the boundary of two important geological formations, being the Proteozoic Coldwell Alkalite Complex and the Archean Schreiber Hemlo Greenstone Belt. The reason why this is so important is that the Marathon deposit for Generation Mining sits directly on the eastern contact of those two geological formations, and our western block at Ridgeview Pine sits directly along the western contact of those two geological formations. So we'll be hoping to see similar things on the other side of that block there. So same thing again, we had the mobile MT fly over Ridgeview Pine last year in 2021 as well. Had Marc Boivin, who is the geophysicist at MB Geosolutions, do their structural interp for us, as well as produce some exploration targets at Ridgeview Pine, of which he produced 17 block and 3 on the east block. These are related to structurally related targets on the east block, as well as some low mag targets on the western block. So some of those we'll be obviously hoping to target with surface exploration activities in the near future as well, and see if we can pick up on some of this remnant magnetism that can be associated with PGE deposits. So our plan for the rest of 2022, like I mentioned, we've obviously recently finished drilling operations for a 4,500 meter drill program at the Starr Project. And like I said, we're just awaiting the last few batches of assay results for the new targets that were drilled on the eastern side of the property. So I did discuss that the drilling that we've released to date were at the Starr showing in the central part of the property, as well as the Powell vein in the central part of the property also, just a bit further to the south. The Powell vein in particular was discovered by two brothers, obviously called the Powell brothers, actually back in the 1930s. And then not long after that, they did excavate some very small mini pits in the area, some little blast pits. So they stripped away the top of the quartz vein there. So obviously there's some very high grade gold mineralization in the area, which we'll obviously be hoping to find the extents of that at depth. So once we obtain the rest of the drilling from Starr, we'll be assessing that program and deciding whether to do more surface exploration work or go back and conduct another drill program. Obviously, extend that Starr mineralization in the central part of the property to the north and to the south, as well as continue on undrilled test targets to the eastern and western side of the properties that had yet to be drill tested yet, but did have a lot of high-grade gold at surface. As well, like I mentioned, we're hoping to get to Sammy Ridgeline later in the summer as well for an initial surface exploration program there, really with that renewed focus on PGM group exploration that has that renewed focus in the area. So hopefully get some geological mapping, grab sampling, soil sampling, and perhaps some trenching done here at Sammy Ridgeline to the north of Thunder Bay. So thanks very much for tuning in today, everyone. If you did have any questions, I'll hand over to Paul now so he can read them out, and we're both available to answer those questions. And like Bob mentioned, if you did want to book a one-on-one meeting with ourselves to find out more information, then please do so through the website. We will make sure we make ourselves available.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. We do have a couple of questions. We have a question. What are your key takeaways from the recent assay results from Pal Zone and the Starr part of the project? You want to comment on that?
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, I'll take that one for sure. Really promising signs coming out of our first bunch of PRs released for the Starr and Pal results out of the central part of the Starr property. Like I kind of went through, I can go back to that slide. So the highlights for the first few holes that we released at Starr in particular here, like I mentioned, we've got that really nice high grade body that can be traced with the yellow parts in the middle there, surrounded by a fairly thick lower grade halo surrounding those. So seeing some really nice thicknesses and grades coming out of the Starr zone in particular already. The Pal zone as well had a couple of nice drill holes drilled directly under the existing blast pits that came out of the Pal vein that was done by the Pal brothers back in the 40s or 50s, I think it was. And we've tried to extend that vein at depth and had a couple of nice hits there as well. So it's obviously another area of focus for us.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. The next question was, can you discuss your capital structure and funding needs for the remaining 2022 work program?
Yeah, I can cover that as well. And if you wanted to add anything at the end, Paul, feel free to. You would be able to see from our recent press releases that we did raise 1.3 million just last December. I think ended up being finalized early January. So that obviously went towards paying the bulk of the recent drill program that we had done. We obviously had almost enough in the bank to cover that already. So still got another close to $1 million in the bank to spend on exploration activities this year. Whether or not we do another financing this year is, I might let Paul take that one. But if we continue to drill at Starr, as well as obviously continue to work on Sammy Ridgeline as well, that'll possibly require another financing. So that'll be a question over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and that is our last question. So I'll just elaborate a little bit. And one of the things we want to do too is start looking at Starr West. That's an area that we did manage to drill in this last round, and we need to do a few upgrades with some roads to get to it. But that is another area. So I think we're definitely looking potentially at another financing down the road, depending on how things go with the market. And as Aaron mentioned, we'll want to spend money on Starr and also on the other projects, which not necessarily drilling off the bat, but doing some more surface exploration, potentially some geophysics. So that's sort of our long-term goal over the next few months.
Yeah, definitely. Just to add to that as well, Sammy Ridgeline and Richview Pine are definitely at a much earlier stage than the Starr Project. There has been some historical drilling done on both of the projects, particularly on the eastern block of the Sammy Ridgeline project. But like I previously mentioned, the previous exploration work that has been done at Sammy Ridgeline, they were looking for different metals, so there really wasn't that PGM focus there. So now that we have that set of geophysical targets in hand from our geophysicist, who was quite the expert in PGE elements, we'll be able to send a team of geos and technicians back to the surface to do more field work, grab sampling, soil sampling with that PGE focus in mind. So there really is that renewed focus on palladium and platinum in the area.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Aaron. And there are no more questions.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for joining in today. And like we mentioned, if you did want to meet with us one-on-one, feel free to book that through the website, and we'll hopefully speak to you soon.